Welcome to our session. I am Maithili Dandige, and I'm here with Alphans. I want to share 3 things that Alphans and I have in common. Number 1, very simple. We are program managers based in Redmond, Microsoft. Number 2, we've been on this journey of building groups right from its very beginning, when we started it 2 years back. And number 3, and let me take the liberty to say, it's something I share in common with each one of you today, is the power of working as a group in a team. In the book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill quoted and said, when 1 or 2 people come together with a specific purpose, a topic, together they bring the power of creativity, support, and collective wisdom, and they culminate together to form a mastermind, which does amazing things much beyond what an individual can accomplish. This is the cornerstone and foundation of groups and the mission that we've been working on. Our goal today is twofold. First, we want to talk about the key benefits that groups offer over DLs for IWs, empowering IWs as we reinvent productivity and think about modern ways of communicating and collaborating in your organization. And at the second, we also want to make sure that as we empower our IWs, we really think about our IT admins who need to run their business within the parameters of their business and their policies. And so giving them the IT tools, controls, to manage groups and run them successfully is something that we will also heavily discuss in context of moving from distribution lists to groups. You've probably seen this slide, so I'm going to spend like a minute here. But in the context of this session, I want to pause and say why it was important for us to embrace the dynamics of the modern workplace. It was no longer enough to keep building on the same tools that we had in the past decade. When we started looking at the number of information, the information flow in the company, people using different modalities to communicate, different devices, it was important for us to not keep bolting on the same tools we had. So there we introduce modern groups. It is the new way to communicate and collaborate that we offer through our office experiences. And we'll talk about that through a lot of demos that we'll show both for end users and IT admins. Just to spend a moment on this slide again, I want to reiterate that what we have built is a single unified identity for a group in Azure. And the O365 groups is basically part of our intelligent fabric that spans across O365, just like the Office graph. And we empower all these experiences into each of our applications, as you can see, Outlook, OneDrive, OneNote, etc. As we will build, you will see Yammer hook onto this as well. And as a user, you can use any tool of your choice to communicate. But when we bring the same common team membership definition across the different applications, we really enable experiences that weren't possible before. And that's what we'll see, some of it, through our demos. So let's jump right straight into the demos. And I'm going to tell you 10 reasons why IWs should choose groups over DLs. And I'll do that in a 3-part demo. So let's talk about number 1. Why should you use groups? You should use groups because they increase productivity. What we have built and what you will see with the new version of Outlook 2016 that's available in the tech preview today that you should go and start using, there's a brand new team collaboration experience right within Outlook. But the principle that we made sure that we followed was we had to keep this very, very familiar and integrate into email and with your existing workflows. So when you start using Outlook, you boot it, and you start creating a group, there's zero downtime. You go, you start using, and get productive right away. So let's take a look at a couple of key aspects that demonstrate this. And I'm going to switch monitors. All right. So what you see here is the new version of Outlook 2016. So I'm going to spend a little bit talking about the familiarity. The first thing that you'll notice is groups. They appear in your navigation pane that we call right alongside your inbox. So groups, number one, appear alongside your inbox. This means no context switching. You have peripheral awareness of groups, unseen activity, and you can work with them just like in your existing, you boot your day, you're working in your email, and you can keep working with your groups. You can favorite a group. So I can favorite a group just like another folder. And when that becomes a favorite group, it appears in my favorites, and you can see that the icon distinguishes the group from the folder. Very simple again, very intuitive. I want to talk about one of the key benefits and the value props that Outlook Desktop 16 brings, which is the ability to work offline. I know I'm going to be on my flight back on Friday. I have emails to check, 500 perhaps, probably even more, and groups to catch up on. And one of the things that we do is we cache your groups offline, your favorite groups offline. Alphonse will talk a little bit about this in the architecture, but what I want to show you is if I go here and if I open, you see two stores. One is your OST, your personal file, and the second one is what we internally call the GST. It's a .nst extension, but we call it the group store. This is the file that we use to cache your groups, and they are available to you offline, your favorite groups. And you can work with them just like with your mail. The second point that I want to talk about is groups are addressable just like a DL. So here is a health band group that I'm working on nowadays with my team. And as you see here, it is very, very similar to a DL. And let me show you that, because this is a Tailspin Toys. This is a DL I created. So let's do this quick exercise. Let's bring up the group card, and I'm going to pin it. And I'm going to try to pin the DL card. All right, let's look at them side by side. What you see here is that basically both objects, the way we've created it, they are stored as groups in the Exchange, as a group object in the Exchange directory. This means a group inherits all the properties of a DL, but is even more. So it has the members, the membership, but what you see here is groups, when you create, have resources, like a mailbox, shared files, a group OneDrive, a calendar, a notebook. And you can do all the management of group right from within Outlook. You can add new members, you can edit, you can leave the group. Let's talk about subscribe as a feature here. And I want to show the power of subscribe in context of the down-level client. So when you subscribe to a group, you essentially get all the mail in your inbox. And this is possible because underneath, our exchange stack understands the DL, and our transport layer understands that and uses the DL functionality to push that into your inbox. This is where I'm switching to OVA. Imagine when you're in your down-level Office 2003 client, each message that you get is going to have what we call as the group footer, if it came from the group. And this provides even a better down-level experience than a DL provides. Because right from within your Office 2013 client, you're connected to the service, you can go and start viewing your conversations, your files, and get started with the group. Coming back to Outlook. And then really the third point, which is that this is much beyond the DL. It is a new team collaboration space. And so when I click on a group like Health Band Project, what you see here is a new space, which we call as the group space. It has a header, we call it the V header. It orients you to this new space, which is called as a group. It tells you the properties of a group. This is a public group that we've been working on our new product, Health Band. I can see the members of my group right here, and I can see all the resources of this group, the calendar, the files, the notebook. And I can immerse and focus on this group when I want to do. If you're like me and obsessed with the Zero Inbox, I love this feature because what it allows me to do is really focus on the group when I have to and come back to the inbox and keep working on my personal email. So let's quickly look at the assets of the group. This is the shared group calendar. And as you can see, you can overlay this very nicely with your personal calendar. We connect you to files, which is all the files that your team has been working on. They're right there. You can view them. And then OneNote that you can work on. Let me just open the OneNote. This is the OneNote that you'll be able to work on right from within the group. I'm going to go back. Sorry. All right. Moving to the next 3 benefits. So let me ask you a question. How many of you were recently pulled into a project and were asked to jump in, create this document, create the presentation, and get started, and felt nervous about it? Like, oh man. Few of y'all, probably. And this is the one key point that I want. This is the real leap that groups take over DLs. Because groups allow you to self-organize, create instant groups right away, and benefit from the collective wisdom of your team. And to hone this point, because the group is nothing but a DL with a mailbox, you have all that information, all that collective wisdom that your team has been working on, the conversations, the files, the meeting minutes, right there. Any new member coming into the team has that information, can get started. It happened to me recently when Amit pulled me into a group, and actually I didn't realize, and he was like, hey, can you set up this meeting and get this checkpoint done? And that was a big group, and they were talking about all these big agendas. But I was able to get in, see all the PowerPoints, and get my presentation ready. And I felt pretty smart, and I don't usually. So that was neat. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of things about creating groups, how you can join groups easily and discover groups, and take a look at all the rich modern experience that we've built. Right. So moving back, so what I'm going to show you is an email that I got from Amit because I was pulled into the Seattle engineering group. He created this group and added me as a member. What you see here is my inbox, and this is called the welcome email. When I get added as a member, every member gets this email. And what you see here is a couple of things. First, this is a conversation from a group, and when it lands in your inbox, you will see what we call as the contextual group ribbon. And this ribbon gives you quick actions to all the group resources right from within your inbox. I can quickly see who the members of the group are. I can add a new member. This is a public group. I can invite them very easily. I can check out what's going on in the group. I want to show you a neat feature that we've built, which is called as the header, group header in the Me space. And this is a one-click action that you can go and quickly jump into the group in your navigation, even if it is not a favorite group. And I find that pretty helpful because I have a lot of groups now that I'm part of. So what you see here is now I'm here, I'm into the group. I can see what the group is talking about. There's a meeting coming in. I can go and add it to my calendar right here from within. So every calendar invite is sent to the group feed. That's kind of, the group feed is one single feed that has all the group notifications about all the group activities that are happening. I can see the modern reading pane, and you can see here that you see a thumbs up action, and this is bringing in likes into email, which is allowing you the ability to quickly reply, appreciate something right from within the group experience. So going back to the health band product that I've been working on, what you see here is this email that my colleague Sangya has sent, and we've been working on this. It flows from top to bottom, where this is the latest reply. I can go and like the comment, and I can go and quickly reply saying, this is great, count me in the meeting to review this. Just a quick guess, do you guys know how many characters on an average people reply when they reply an email? 2 lines, yeah, very close. So it's about 50 characters. And so you don't really, and so what we've done is really enable some of these to communicate at the speed of social and bringing them to email. The ability to quickly reply, like, all of these gestures, really fast and fluid to increase your productivity. Going back to my inbox, I want to show you another thing around how you get discovered to new groups. And this happens all the time. So here I got an email sent from Alphonse the other day. He's been following this group called Industry Trends. We've been working on the Hellbrand project. And he read this cool article, and he said, hey, Maithili, I just started following this group, and some pretty good, neat insights, check it out. And again, what you can see is, with one click, I can join the group right from within the inbox. This was not possible with a DL. I can go and also find groups and join them. So I know I was recently invited to the PM Leads group, and as you notice, this is a private group. When I join a private group, I can quickly, from within my experience, send a note to the admin saying, hey, giving you a reason, I want to join the group. When I do that, an email gets sent to all the admins of the group. You can very easily promote multiple people as admins to a group from our managed experience. So it's more than one, not that only one person who is the gatekeeper often, and then get you easily approved right from within your inbox. So very, very integrated into the existing experience. And then the next point is all about how instantly you can start creating a group and working together with your team on accomplishing goals together. Here, I can just right-click and create a group. I'm not going to create it today, but when you do that, it takes about a minute to create a group right from within Outlook. And what you see here is I can enter a name, I can assign a privacy level, and this is an option that we provide for the owners of the group. When they create the group, they can subscribe the members of the group. So you can choose to say, hey, I want to make sure that this is an important group and I want that group to go into the inbox. As you do that as an owner, we make sure that our principles are clear. We want to still provide the user an option to opt out of that. So you can go very easily to the group space and you can unsubscribe to do that. All right. I'm going to switch back. Next, I want to just talk about the power of groups, which is the integration that comes with O365. So even with Outlook, because OneDrive understands the same group, Skype understands the same group, you can really enable frictionless collaboration and new sharing experiences that weren't possible before. So to nail this point, I'm going to show you two scenarios that are my personal favorites. So again, I'm going to go to my calendar, my group calendar for the day. All right, this is a meeting that I have scheduled on my team because I want to review the compete analysis for Health Band. And let me tell you a feature that I really like. When you create a meeting on a group calendar, how many times has it been that your OOF or somebody on your team is out, you want to change the agenda, you want to go and update the meeting to a different time? You can do that because that is the power of the group calendar. It allows all team members to have access to the invite, and when you do that, and if you've added that calendar to your personal calendar, the invites, the updates get propagated right away. So here I have this meeting, and then I need to review. I remembered that I wanted to add this file that I was working on, the group. So what you see here is the attachment picker. It shows the most recent files that I've been working with. But I can also browse to my web locations. I can browse to my personal OneDrive, my business OneDrive, as well as we've integrated the group files into the same experience. And so I can go right there to Health Band project, and I can add the KPIs that I want to discuss. And when you do that, what you see here is the icon for the cloud, which tells you this document is stored in the group OneDrive. And when I pull this up in my meeting to work on, all the changes are going to get added to the same copy. No more versioning challenges there. And this was super easy to do. Next point that I do want to bring about in frictionless sharing is with Skype. When I search for the group in Skype, which is the Health Band product, as you see here, this is the same group card that you bring up from Skype. It's the same identity. So Skype understands the same group. If I went on OneDrive and this is the same group card that I could bring up from OneDrive as well. I can, in fact, go to the calendar and files right from within the shared group card. But here what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly start a real-time meeting with my team. So I'm going to do that. And then my favorite feature is about how you can pull your group one note right from within this experience and start taking minutes into your meeting right away. So here I have my PowerPoint file that I bring up to project, and I have the notes, everything in one place. And when the meeting is done, I've made the edits, I have the meeting notes, I can share them with my group right there. So it's all very seamless right from within the experience. And then last but not the least, this is taking, so what you saw was the experience that we are shipping in 2016. But we understand in the modern workplace, people work on multiple devices. They use different devices to communicate and collaborate throughout the day. Outlook, groups in Outlook will be available on all endpoints. The Outlook Web Access, which is available today. Then with Outlook 2016, which is the tech preview, and ready for the fall release. And we are excited to share that we've been working on the mobile apps for groups so that your groups that you work on are right there as you are mobile. And so to show you our mobile app, I would like to show you a glimpse of the mobile app that we were working on. All right. So this is the iOS version of the app, and we are building the app for all three platforms. It will be available on Windows Phone as well as on Android. What you see here are my groups, and one of the features that you'll see coming up in our roadmap is what the internal name is called Pranky. And this is basically our intelligence algorithm that shows you groups based on your activity and usage. You can favorite groups, but based as you use more and more groups, we want to make sure that your top groups, the groups you care about, are right there at your fingertips. And so what you see here are three groups, and I want to share, this is the Microsoft Ignite group that we've been sharing news about and what we've been doing. The modern collaboration experience that you saw with OVA and Outlook really shines with the mobile device. You can quickly browse through the conversations and catch up on the feed, what the group has been talking about. I can dig deep, dive deep into the conversation and see the details. I can quickly reply to the team. And next, you'll also get notifications on the device. For likes, for group conversations that we've started and somebody's liked your conversation. And we'll also be bringing things like at mentions. If somebody at mentions you, you'll know about that. So all the norms that you're used to using on various other apps will be available in this app as well. One of the other things that we want to make sure is that we really provide a seamless experience working with your files. And so with that, you'll be able to see your files, the same files from Group OneDrive right within the app. You can share a file, start a conversation activity, and that file will be automatically pushed to the Group OneDrive. So every file that you share is right there as you view. With that, those were my 10 reasons. And I know it was long, and you should go and try it out yourself. go try the Office Tech Preview, create a group, start working with your teams. As Christoph said, I'm going to repeat his words. This is just the beginning. So give us your feedback and help us improve the product. I'm going to hand it off to Alphonse, who is going to go through the group's architecture and all the fun tools that we are building for IT admins to move from DLs to groups.
Thank you, Magali. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you guys doing? Good. Yeah, I know it's late. Quick show of hands. Who in this room is not working in IT? Okay, oh, that's not true. You're an engineer. Yeah, that's what I thought. So that's what we're going to spend the next half hour and a few minutes on. We will talk about architecture because you guys need to understand what's going on with groups, like how they're built and how they will work in a hybrid environment, which I will assume most of you guys are in. And I think you also in the back of your mind have that nagging question, wow, that looks really good. Like, this is power to the people. My business will love it. But can I actually manage it? Like, what are the controls that I have? I'm going to talk a lot about that part and those controls that you have. Before we go into that, let's talk about group architecture first. And just for level setting, who in this room has been in a deep dive yesterday? Very few. Okay, I highly encourage you guys to watch the deep dive. I will repeat a few things, but I will not go as deep as Sam did yesterday, because I need to cover other things as well, as in how you get from a distribution list to a group. So definitely watch that recording. It has a lot of great commanded stuff in it. So group architecture. Magali already hinted to, the group starts in AAD. It starts with a single identity that has membership, that has owners, and that is constituted as a group. And then it shares federated resources, so that one single identity shares its membership and its name and its description with the different workloads, with Exchange, with SharePoint, and with more workloads to come in the future. And those workloads then provision resources for that group. The whole system is very loosely coupled. So if tomorrow another system comes online, let's say Yammer, then Yammer will just get all the groups that already exist from AAD and sync down into Yammer. Or likewise, on the other end, any group that I have and that I'm a member of will all of a sudden show Yammer as a new capability. So it's a very flexible and very extensible system. A group has a group mailbox from an Exchange point of view, and for the rest of this discussion, we will focus very much on the Exchange workload. I will touch a few AAD things, but I will mostly focus on the Exchange workload, since the SharePoint session just happened before this one, and I assume you guys were there if you're interested in more details on SharePoint. So single identity, shared resources. We kind of have a similar picture on what we see in Exchange with the resources and the identity when we look at what's going on in Outlook and the Outlook client. Magali mentioned in her part of the session that for Outlook, being offline, being in cached mode is a very important property and a very important value. So as you can see in Exchange, in the server in 365, a group has you have a couple of groups, and each of them has its own mailbox. Basically, you could think from an infrastructure point of view, a group in Exchange is like a combination of a distribution list and a shared mailbox. It has that ability to send email to many, many people, and it also has that persisted information in the mailbox itself. So that same picture translates down into the client. The client, of course, has OST, the local store for the user's mailbox, but it also has the new GST, where all the group mailboxes and their informations are stored. My joint groups, my favorite groups, will show up in that GST. And for joint groups, we will do some smart so that we're not caching too much on your local disk. It's basically the groups that you used latest. For favorite groups, we will cache all of that on your local disk. So as you go in the plane, as you do your stuff offline, all your favorite groups that you favorited will be with you with all their content. So that was a very, very quick overview on the architecture. Again, if you want to know more details on what exactly is going on, check out the deep dive. I want to focus now on hybrid a little bit, because I assume that most in this room are hybrid. How many people actually are in a hybrid architecture? That means you have on-premise Exchange and cloud Exchange. So about half. So the other half, I would just consider the next 5 minutes as a good reason why you should be happy that you're not hybrid. But for most of us, hybrid is actually reality. It's reality for Microsoft as well. And in the past, you learned that pattern that anything you want to do identity-wise in hybrid, you need to create it on-premise and then sync it into the cloud. Every user is first created on-premise and then synced to the cloud. Every distribution list is created on-premise and synced to the cloud. Here's the bad news. With groups, we're changing that completely, 180 degrees, because groups are always created in the cloud. They are managed in the cloud. They live in the cloud. They have all their resources in the cloud. Their single place of identity is AAD in the cloud. So here's how that's going to work and why users can still use the group even if their mailbox is on-premise. Let's look at an example where, let's say, Melissa is in the cloud. She's a user in the cloud. She's a happy person. And Dan is a little bit left behind. His mailbox is still on-premise. So what happens if, we'll take questions at the end because we have so much stuff to cover. What happens if Melissa wants to create a group and invite Dan as a member of that group? First of all, she creates a group. As I explained before, the group will be created in AAD and then a resource will be instantiated in Exchange. The group is already available in the GAL in AAD. Dan, on-premise, has no idea about the existence of that group. It's not synced down. But as soon as Melissa invites Dan to the group, he will be added to the group in AAD. We know in AAD that Dan is actually an on-premise user, so we will just subscribe him to all the messages. So basically for Dan, a group will work more or less like a distribution list. He will receive the welcome email as he gets added to the group, and that brings the group into his local nickname cache. So when he starts typing an email, addressing it to the group, it will just resolve because it's in a nickname cache. The caveat is, if there's another guy, Jeff, on-premise, who wasn't invited to the group, he will not see the group in the GAL. Like, he will have no idea that the group even exists. So Dan got the invite, he got the welcome email. My clicker doesn't work very much. And then, as I said, Sam is auto-subscribed. So as soon as Melissa posts something to the group, we will just make sure Sam gets it in his inbox. He will always get a copy of what's going on in the group in his inbox. Of course, since Sam has the group in his nickname cache, he can just compose an email message. The email message will resolve in the toLine and will be sent to the group. But Sam, the other guy who doesn't know about the group, what do we do with him? And here's what you should consider. Everything, without any work, everything works just fine, as I explained right now. Everything pretty much works like a distribution list. But to really bring the groups to on-premise users, you need to think about AAD Connect. AAD Connect is in preview right now, and it has the new capability to sync identity from the cloud to on-prem. And by doing that, by deploying AAD Connect, you will now actually make sure that the group gets synced from the cloud to on-prem. It will appear in your down-level on-prem Exchange servers as a distribution list. It will be available to everyone in the on-prem GAL, and everyone can just start discovering that group and sending email to that group. So very, very important point. If you're hybrid and you want to use groups, and I hope you do want to use groups, make sure you get AAD Connect, make sure you start syncing from the cloud to on-prem. So, that clicker needs some more batteries. So, moving from distribution lists to groups. What do you care about? I think you care about, how do I know what's going on in my tenant? How can I control what's going on in my tenant? And then how can I help my users to actually get their existing content that's in distribution lists, their existing metadata, and move it over into groups? And I'm going to cover those 3 points through my demos. So enough talking, enough PowerPointing. Let's do some demoing here. Clean up a little bit here. And then. Okay, welcome to Chicago Skyline. So I guess the first thing you probably want to know is, what groups do you have in your tenant? You want to see if all the groups have proper names, proper membership, if you have too many, too little groups. And maybe in one or two cases, you will need to engage and help users a little bit to stay within the guidelines. The simplest way to do that is through the 365 admin portal. In the portal here, you see groups, the group section, and when you click on that, you will see a long, long list of all the security groups, all the distribution groups, and all the 365 groups that you have in this tenant. If you pick one of them, let's say our Chicago Nightlife, you will see the properties of that group. You will see whether it's public or private. You will see the group name and can change it here. And you will also have access to the members and the admins of that group. So one scenario would be somebody created a group. Unfortunately, that person left the company. How do you get another owner in? Like, how do you make sure the group can still be managed? And you could do it through that way. You go to the portal, you check out the group, you change members and admins. You can also check whether there are some names that are maybe not quite what you want them to be, and you could easily go in and change those names. So that's a very simple way of seeing what's going on in your tenant. Obviously, back in your mind, you will now think, yeah, that works really awesome on stage in a demo, because that guy has only 50 groups, but I have 500 or 5,000 or 50,000. So what can you do in that case? The next thing I want to show you is PowerShell, of course. Who likes PowerShell in this room? Oh, come on, a little more hands. Okay, in PowerShell, there's a super simple way how you can actually get all the groups that you have. And apologies here, I'm really, really bad at typing if one person watches me. So multiply that by 200, and I wouldn't get a single line PowerShell done within the next half hour. So one way of seeing what's going on in your tenant is by just executing get unified groups that will get you the list of all the groups that you have in your tenant. And you can pipe that into a CSV and then check it out in Excel. So let's do that. For my demo tenant, I think I probably have some 50 groups or so. I don't know if you noticed, it created this CSV down here, which has a bunch of information on the group. Like pretty much every piece of metadata that you could think about the group is in here. I will shortcut a little bit and not start to format the Excel sheet right here, but show you what you can do with that. What you see here right now is the exact same Excel sheet, the exact same data, only I was hiding a few columns and made it a table. So it gives you a super easy way of figuring out all the groups that you have in your tenant, of being able to see them by name, by owner, to check out when they were created, to find out that maybe there's a name that, I don't know. Let's keep that one in mind and follow up a little later. To see what group types you have over time. Like it's all the metadata is there. You can just plot it on a timeline. You can see public versus private groups. You know exactly what's going on in your tenant. Down to the level of figuring out who is actually creating the most groups in your tenant. And turns out for this tenant, it's me and Christoph. Congrats, Christoph, you're the second. It's a super, super easy way of figuring out in scale what's going on in your tenant. Let's talk quickly about that stupid questions group. You probably have very creative users in your organization. We certainly do, and we find all sorts of interesting group names. Many of them we like, some of them we don't like so much. So some control and some policy would really be helpful here. And the good news is that you guys probably already know distribution list naming policies. Distribution list naming policies is basically a way of applying prefix-postfix based on AAD entries. So for instance, North America, Building 32, job role program manager, but also combine it with a blocked word list. And since groups are basically distribution lists with a mailbox and a lot of other resources, we made distribution list naming policies apply to groups. So you can very easily configure one of those policies for distribution lists, and they will automatically also work for groups. I'm not going to do the prefix-suffix thing. Watch Sam's presentation for that. But I want to show you how the blocked word will take effect if a user tries to create a group with one of those words. So let's say I'm actually not a big fan of stupid. So let's add that to our blocked word list and save the list. And you will see there's also silly and bad word in this list. I'm saving the list, and I want to show you the end-user experience right now. It does take a little while for those new words to propagate, though, which is why I will take one of the existing ones for my demo. So let's go over to Outlook, to OA, and see what happens. There we go. Let's see what happens if a user wants to create one of those, a group with one of those words on my blocked list. Let's do the bad word group. Let's try to create it. And the user will get a message, a warning that, hey, you can actually not create that group. So please be a little more entertaining, find another better bad word that's not on the list yet. This is very important in education, obviously, because students are like super creative, and we found interesting words over there. So that was a very, very quick overview, high level, on what you can do in terms of IT admin controls and group management. What I showed you very quickly was Admin Center and Admin Center's capabilities to manage groups. I did not show you AAD Admin Portal. That's another way how you can manage groups. AD Admin Portal has a lot of abilities both for admins as well as for end users to control groups, to create groups, to change membership, and all those things. I did show you one commandlet. We have a full set of commandlets for all CRUD actions, so you can fully automate any change, creation, deletion, or getting attributes of groups. I did show you the export into CSV, which is pretty neat for quick analysis. I did not show you REST APIs. Again, Sam's session, the deep dive, has a whole talk on REST APIs, so please check that out. It's another great way for you to build your custom apps and have them create groups or manage membership of groups. So you can fully automate what's going on in your groups. I did show you naming conventions, the ability to add prefix, postfix, and to define some bad words. Good news is the same policy will also apply to distribution lists. So if you do it once or if you already have it, all of that applies for free to groups moving forward. The other good news is IT admins can override those policies. For instance, if you have a policy that mandates the region as a suffix, you probably still want to create the HR group that doesn't have a specific region suffix. As IT admin, you can do that. What I did not show is that we also support create scopes, so you can define which users in your organization can actually create groups and which ones cannot. Anybody in the organization can work with existing groups if they are a member of, but you can limit who can create those groups. So if you don't feel too comfortable right away opening up to the whole tenant, you can limit to a certain set of people and then grow it from there, expand it from there. So that was the control part. What can I do to manage existing groups? How can I see what's going on in my tenant? What groups do I already have? And what controls can I put in place to make sure that my users are not too adventurous? Let's now talk about moving from distribution lists to groups. You have lots and lots of distribution lists in your organization, I would assume. They probably grew over the years. How can you get them to groups without having to recreate every group manually, and add members to each of them manually again and again and again? We have a few ways of doing that. So let's look at them in no particular order, or actually in a particular order. Let's start off with the end user. I'm a big soccer fan. Actually, no, it's a lie. I'm a German, but probably the only German who doesn't like soccer. But anyways, for the purpose of this demo, I created a distribution list, Soccer Guys. It has a bunch of members. It was used over the time. I'm the owner. We love it. We don't have history. We don't have documents. We would want to have more. So what I did, being the owner of Soccer Guys, I created the improved Soccer Guys. It's a great, great group. It has everything a group should have, except one thing. It doesn't have any members. There's only me. So it's a little bit of a lonely place. But we can change that. As an end user, the simplest way, what I can do without even like having to ask admin is I can just take an existing distribution list. I can just say, show me all the members, expand it. Why don't I just copy all those members and then go back to my new, much better group and paste all those members here. And what you see is that I can copy paste a bunch of members. I can bulk add as many as I want, and it will resolve them one by one. And then all of a sudden I have my fully populated list. Everybody who was on the old distribution list is in the new group. I click OK, everybody will get an invite email, I'm done. So it's super, super easy for end users. It's probably not what you want to do as IT admins, but to give to your end users, it's a very simple first step. We have one better for the more technical end users or for IT admins for kind of one-off things, and that is Hummingbird. A colleague of mine created Hummingbird over the weekend. It's basically using our REST APIs and basically going to a distribution list, getting all the metadata, creating a group with it. So let's try it. Let's pick another one. How about we pick HR? HR is always a little bit slow, so let's give them a little push in creating a group for their distribution list. So I type in the alias of the distribution list that I want to back up. Hummingbird now is reaching out to Exchange Server. It's basically getting all the metadata from the distribution list. It's writing all that metadata into a local XML file such that I can change membership if I want to, or distribution, or the name, or anything. It tells me that it is done. It asks me if I want to see it. Of course I do. Okay, those users all look pretty good to me. So now I can go to the next step, get that XML, give it a new alias because I don't want to delete the distribution list just now. It would take a little bit too long for the demo to propagate. I can quickly check the members. Yep, that's what I wanted. And I can create a group. What it does is it creates a group. It adds all the members. The group has the same display name. It has the same alias if I want to. And I deleted the distribution list before. And we're good to go. Like, that's it. That's all we needed. Hummingbird will be available on GitHub in source code, so you will see exactly what's going on. You can take the source code, take snippets, add it to your own application, or use Hummingbird the way it is. Very, very easy way to get specific distribution lists into a group. You can even give it to your more adventurous end users to try it out. Now, the real thing for IT, of course, is not copy-paste in a two-line, or Hummingbird one by one through your 5,600 groups, but you want to do it automated through commandlet. So let's look at how we can do that. Again, I'm a very bad typer, so I have all my lines here. Quick call out. This is for illustration purposes only. Don't try this at home. It's a little PowerShell script that I wrote. I'm a program manager. Never trust a program manager. Get your own devs on it. This works just fine for demo. I'm doing crazy stuff like removing distribution lists right away. You probably don't want to do that in real life. So Let's start off with just checking what distribution lists we have in our tenant. And for that, I do get distribution group. That gives me a list of all the distribution lists that I have in my tenant. Let's say accounting is the one. They're also a little bit slow in moving to new technologies. Let's say those are the ones I want to move over. So I would define the source for everything I'm doing moving forward should be accounting. That is what I want to target with my commandlets. Next, I want to get all the parameters of that distribution list. First, I get the parameters of the distribution list itself, and then I get all the members of the distribution list. I store all of that away in some variable. And of course, as you do that for your company and as you want to scale it, you make it a lot more sophisticated. For demo purposes, this is just fine. And here's the don't do this at home part. I'm super confident. So I'm just going to delete the distribution group. Accounting is gone. Let's give it a few seconds to actually replicate. Let's see if it's gone, or just a little bit gone. Oh man, yeah, it's gone. There it is. So how about we create a group instead? And I'm going to do two things for that. First, I'm going to create the group itself with the same display name, the same alias. I just pipe that back into the commandlet. This command takes a little to execute, usually half a minute or so. I'm still working on what I can actually tell you guys to bridge that time. As you can see, I haven't figured it out, so I'm just stalling along. Once that is done, the next thing I will do is execute unified group member link, unified group link, and that will be used to add members to that group. And then once we have that, we're pretty much done. Like that's all we needed to create the group with all the data from the distribution list. So we're almost there. I'm doing a little bit copy pasting to bridge the time. There we go. Oh, that was one too fast. This one is the command that I will use to add all the existing members that were in the distribution list to that new group. And that's it. I'm done. I have a group. I have the members. Everything is in there. And of course, you don't trust me because I'm from Microsoft. So let's check it. Accounting. There it is. Thank you. So you see the improved soccer guys, which I already had, but now I have members. You see the HR new, which we did through Hummingbird. And you see the new accounting, which we did through commandlets, the easiest way for you guys. Build a nice script. Don't take the simple one that I have, and use that to automate your moving towards from distribution lists to groups. So that pretty much concludes the fun part of my presentation. The rest is PowerPoint, but not too many. Just to recap what we saw a few tools to move users or metadata from distribution lists to groups. Some of them can be used by end users. The copy-paste, bulk add in Outlook being one, Hummingbird being the other one. And then, of course, you have admin tools, and you want to go for scripting and for commandlet import, export. Sam, in his session yesterday, also showed how you can create a group just from like a text file in Notepad. Again, highly recommend to also check out that section, that session. That's a really good prescription on how you can also automate group creation just based on an existing Excel sheet, a text file that you have with the group members. So let's talk a few minutes about roadmap. This is mostly focused on from distribution lists to groups. So let's talk about what's coming up for that specific scenario. A big one that we're working on is Outlook drag and drop. And for that, you can think about, okay, I just migrated that distribution list to a group. I have that group, but it's quite frankly an empty group. It has members, but it doesn't have any of the previous conversations because those are in your inbox. Like there was no shared space for those conversations previously. With drag and drop, you can mark them and just pull them over into the group. So you not only have a group, but you have a fully provisioned group with history. So it'll be a pretty big feature as we think about bootstrapping groups and getting people really embrace the power and ability of groups. The other thing is, I showed you how I can expand the distribution list in the to line and then copy everything and paste it into the group. We can do that one better, frankly. And that is just by allowing you to add a distribution list to the member list, and then we do the expansion for you. So we're working on that as well. External guests for groups are an important thing. Right now, anybody who wants to be a member of the group needs to be in the tenant. We will expand that. Anybody in the universe can be a member of a group. So especially for small business, that's super important because most of the people who work on a project actually are not in your tenant, but somewhere outside, some contractors. But even for bigger companies, it is important because most teams and most projects actually work cross companies with external vendors that you want to be able to bring into the group. And again, of course, we're making sure that IT has the proper controls to define whether that is possible at all for the tenant, and if so, for what groups it's possible. I see a lot of nodding. Yeah, that's a super important requirement. You want to be able to control where your information goes. And we also want to make sure that it's super clear for end users that this group has external guests. Like, be careful what you do. In terms of IT admin scenarios, we will have GAL change reporting through AAD, and that is basically a better way of tracking what's going on with the group or with your groups. It will provide you abilities to see what group names changed over the last 24 hours, last week, what new groups were created, what members were added, removed. So you basically see what's going on and you can engage if something is out of what you think it should be. We're also working on lifecycle and auto expiry, which is a big one because today we don't have that in distribution list. Distribution lists are created and they never get deleted. They're just out there and they keep growing and growing and growing. And it gets nastier and nastier. With groups, we're working on a way that you can actually define a life cycle for a group, and then if no activity has happened in that group for the defined time, the owner will be asked, do you still need that group? And if he doesn't react, then it'll go away. So groups will auto-clean and keep your directory clean by itself and manage that by itself. Dynamic groups. Thank you. I kind of expected a little bit passion on that one because we don't have it so far and we know it's a problem. Groups will solve it. Dynamic groups is another one. You have dynamic distribution lists today. They're usually used for org structure type of communications. In groups, we cannot support that right now, but we will very soon. So the ability to say everyone under that manager should be in the group, and that's all you need to do. So there's no text files, no commandlet stuff. It's just dynamic, defined by AAD attributes. And last but not least, e-discovery and hold. Currently not supported in groups, super high priority for us, will be supported very, very soon. So that was the distribution list specific kind of roadmap. I'm not going to go into detail on that roadmap. It's kind of the broader roadmap. If you've seen any other group session, you saw that roadmap. The main message here is, as Maithili said, it's just the beginning. A lot of stuff is coming. We're just starting. Like, this is just the basics. Expect lots of workloads, embrace groups, expect lots of new abilities to show up by that broad embracing of groups. So summary. Hopefully by what you've seen from Maithili, you were convinced or you are convinced that groups provide a much better experience for the end user. They have much more abilities than distribution lists. But you get everything that distribution lists have today as well. The down-level experience is just the same as for distribution lists. So you don't, from a user perspective, you don't actually lose anything, but you get a lot more. So really seriously consider using groups, even if only for test environments. Your users will like it because they get so much more. And you can outsource some of the administration because users can create those groups. You have all the controls that you need to make sure nothing goes bad, but you can totally let users do the creation and the management of those groups. And I hope we also gave you a glimpse on some of the tools that you can use, how you can move distribution lists to groups. We debated a lot on whether we should just move all the distribution lists to groups for you if you're on the service. We thought you might maybe not appreciate it. So This is probably a more controlled way where you can actually do it, where you have all the commandlets that you need to do it, to do your own scripting and to move distribution lists like bucket by bucket over to groups as you see fit and as you grow confidence. And we'll get to questions in just a moment. Group sessions. Bad news is you pretty much missed all of them already. Good news is all of them are recorded. I highly encourage you to check them out. There's some good information in there. Maithili and I could only focus on one part of it. Sam focused on a different part. There was the overview that showed you the whole picture. There was a SharePoint session that showed you the document-centric part. Really check it out. Lots of great information there. There's one more opportunity for you, and that is we will have a focus group tomorrow. It's kind of a little bit of a hidden event, so you have to sign up for it. We highly, highly want you to show up because we want to learn about how you're using distribution lists today and how you would use groups tomorrow and what you see as the roadblocks or the requirements or the benefits of moving from distribution lists to groups. Because we're very agile. We're listening to feedback that we're getting from customers, and we're trying to turn that into products and change our product roadmap if needed. So if you want to influence where groups go to the session, give us great feedback. And then you have the links at the bottom of the slide, including the Hummingbird link, which is, I think, only on this slide. Like, that is the only slide at Ignite that knows what the Hummingbird link is. So check it out, keep it in mind. And with that, I want to thank you for the time, for the late hour. I hope it was useful for you guys. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the evening in Chicago, and we're opening up for Q&A.